Not too long ago, Jordan Clarkson recorded a triple-double for the Utah Jazz, and it turned out to be the first triple-double by a Jazz player in over 15 years since Carlos Boozer recorded one, which is an extremely long time to go on a bad streak of any kind in the NBA. And that got me thinking, what else have teams across the league not done in an absurdly long amount of time? Well, let's start simple. After Jordan Clarkson broke the Jazz's infamous drought, the Orlando Magic now have the longest time since their last triple-double, which was recorded in February of 2021 by Nikola Vucevic. But I'm sure it's only a matter of time before Banchero or Franz Wagner record their first. Even though the Detroit Pistons recently set the record for longest losing streak at 28 games, they are also the current team who has gone the longest without having a player selected to the All-Star game. Their most recent was Blake Griffin for that 2019 season. Detroit's got plenty of guys like Cade Cunningham who could be elected to their first All-Star appearance any day now. That is, if they can ever stop being so garbage. But there's been no end in sight for that, and honestly, not having an All-Star in just 5 years isn't really that bad, especially if it's the longest streak by any team right now. I thought it'd be worse. It's just weird though that their last was Blake Griffin and he's already not in the league anymore. And it's been both the Pistons and the Charlotte Hornets who have been bad for a long time, which is why they are the team with the longest playoff drought in the league today. They haven't even sniffed a postseason since 2016 when Kemba Walker led them there thanks to a surprising 48-win season. And even that one kind of came out of nowhere. The Hornets have had absolutely nothing going on for them for a long time. Management was so bad for so long, and now they just have the reputation of being the worst team in the league, so nobody wants to sign there. And they've given us no reason to believe that this streak will end anytime soon. And now it's just looking like a matter of time before LaMelo gets tired of it, leaves, and then they're right back to square one. But we'll see. If you are one of the few Hornets fans out there though, you know that it gets worse, because it's not only that, the Hornets are by far the team that's gone the longest streak without even winning a single playoff series. Dating all the way back to 2002 when they had Baron Davis and Jamal Mashburn on the team. The Hornets and Bobcats have been so bad that actually that 2016 season was the only 3 playoff games they've won in the past 22 years, because they've made the postseason 2 other times since then but got swept in both of them. I highly doubt it, but if Charlotte does ever turn things around anytime soon, they're going to be looking like the play-in Wolves when they win their first playoff series in over 2 decades. So if the Hornets haven't won a series since 2002, who has the current longest streak without winning a single playoff game at all? Well, you guessed it, that would go to the Detroit Pistons, who haven't won a single postseason game, not even one game in any series since 2008 when they still had Chauncey Billups, Tayshaun Prince, Rip Hamilton, and Rasheed Wallace. Sure, they made the playoffs in 2009, 16, and 19, but got swept every single time. And to make matters worse, the Pistons have actually had a losing record every single year since 2008 except for one. So that's pretty much 15 years of consecutive losing. No wonder fans wanted them to sell the team. And it's wild because in 08 they had 59 wins and made the Eastern Conference Finals. But in 09 they traded Chauncey for Allen Iverson, who pretty much ruined their entire team chemistry and set them into their 15-year-long rebuild. That was the beginning of the end for them because the Cavs swept them in the first round in 2009. Fast forward to 2015 and 16 and it's Reggie Jackson, Andre Drummond, and Tobias Harris, leading Detroit into the 8th seed, where LeBron and the Cavs sweep them once again. Then in 2019 it's the Blake Griffin All-Star year and he's leading the charge against the Milwaukee Bucks, but he's doing it on one leg and a busted knee, so obviously they weren't winning a game that year either. And it's crazy that none of that was even rock bottom for them. Now, if the fact that the Utah Jazz hadn't had a triple-double by any player on the roster in over 15 years shocked you, just get ready for this one. Because today in the league, we see players from nearly every single team putting up 50-point games what seems to be every other night. Scoring's become a lot easier, so those type of games that used to be rare happen a lot more often these days. Well, unless you're a Utah Jazz fan, because the last time one of their players recorded 50 was 26 years ago by Karl Malone in 1998. Darren Williams never had one, Gordon Hayward didn't do it, and neither did Donovan Mitchell, Rudy Gobert, Derek Favors, or Lauri Markkanen, which almost seems more unlikely than the triple-double drought. I mean, of all people, Bojan Bogdanovic had a 48-point game a couple of years ago, then Lauri Markkanen put up 49 last season. I'm sure Markkanen will be the one to break this dry streak, but you just have to wonder how much longer this will go on. And we did mention Derek Favors there for a minute, which is interesting because oddly enough, the Brooklyn Nets are the team that have gone the longest without having a single lottery pick anywhere in the NBA draft. The last one they had was way back in 2010 when they drafted Derek Favors 3rd overall. And it's mainly all because they've spent most of the past 10 years trading away all their picks and assets to bring in superstar superstar players and make super teams. And at first glance, the Nets probably weren't your first guess for this, seeing that the roster is currently one of the better young teams in the entire league, but it's all been from trades. Now, if the oldest lottery pick was in 2010, the longest time without a first overall pick has to be way further back, right? And oh, it was. Now, I will start by saying all of the Hawks, Mavs, Nuggets, Pacers, Grizzlies, Heat, Thunder, and Jazz have never drafted a player first overall. They've never had the first pick, but the team that has gone the longest between first picks is another surprising one in the Boston Celtics, because the only time they drafted first was way back in 1950 when they used the 4th ever first overall pick to draft Charlie Scher. So it's been 74 years and counting since they've drafted first, and have never picked higher than 2 again, which is very surprising seeing how well they've done ever since, and just goes to show how well their front office has performed throughout their entire existence. They've managed to do great though, traded for Bill Russell, who was drafted first overall, picked Larry Bird 6th, got Kevin McHale 3rd, traded for Robert Parrish, drafted Chauncey Billups 3rd, Paul Pierce 10th, Joe Johnson 10th, Al Jefferson 15th, Marcus Smart 6th, and Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum both 3rd, which goes to show that you don't have to tank to be successful in the draft, you just gotta have a good scouting team, and the Celtics are proof of that. Now, NBA awards are a little more tricky. The NBA Defensive Player of the Year award was introduced in 1982, and plenty of teams have never had a defensive player winner, but the LA Lakers have been on the longest streak since their last, because Michael Cooper won it for them back in 1986 and no other Laker has since. But I guess it makes sense seeing that they've only had Metta World Peace and Anthony Davis that could have made a real case for it, and Artest didn't have a big enough role, and AD has always had injuries. As for the Sixth Man of the Year award, well, it's also been around since 1982, and in 1991 and 92 the Indiana Pacers had Detlef Schrempf win the award in back-to-back seasons. Well, it's been almost 3 decades and they've never had another one. I don't know though, with the depth they have on this Pacers team, it could be coming before too long. The Sixth Man award is a strange one though, because it could really come from any team as long as they have a somewhat winning record. I mean, look at the stretch between 2000 and 2014 and all these teams that have had a player win it. The longest drought for a team having the Rookie of the Year awarded to one of their players comes by way of the Atlanta Hawks, because even though Trae Young made a close case for it in recent years, the last time a player from Atlanta actually won the award was way back in 1955 when the team wasn't even in Atlanta, it was in Milwaukee, and this was when Bob Pettit got the award, easily making this the biggest gap between winning in NBA history, with it being 74 years and counting. Interestingly enough, unless you're a Hawks fan, is that they also have the longest MVP drought as well, because Bob Pettit also won the MVP in 1959, and the team has never produced another one again. Sure, plenty of teams have never produced a league MVP at all, but the 65 years that have passed since Atlanta first had a player win it almost physically can't be topped. Then of course that brings us to NBA championships and the biggest title droughts today, which of course is held by the Sacramento Kings. Today the Kings have assembled one of the best rosters they've had in years, and it may be their best chance at a title, and if they did happen to win it, it would break their 73-year-long dry streak, because Oscar Robertson won them their only championship back in 1951 when they were called the Rochester Royals. They haven't even sniffed a title since then, seeing that they also have a 73-year streak of never making it to the finals. But who knows, things could change. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'm out.